Hello, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all doing great. Welcome back once again. Today I'm bringing you a very important video, and honestly I'd even call it a strategic one because what's happening in the markets right now is not normal. We're seeing a fairly dangerous combination of factors. On one hand, geopolitical tensions keep escalating. On the other, we have a market that looks calm on the surface but really isn't. And surprisingly, Bitcoin is holding up much better than expected, even pushing toward the 69,000 level I mentioned to you before. All of this together is building something much bigger beneath the surface. In this video, I'm going to explain how I'm currently reading the global macro environment, why I believe the market still hasn't fully priced in what's coming, what my personal macro thesis is, and the role Bitcoin could play in all of this. We'll also go through the key technical levels I'm watching, how to interpret volume and market traps, and most importantly, the full scenario I believe could unfold over the coming weeks and months, because we're not talking about just another market move. We could first see an uncomfortable phase, declines, fear, and volatility, followed by one of the biggest bullish moves this market has seen. So if you want to understand not only what's happening now, but what could happen next and how to position yourself, stay until the end of the video, because this analysis could give you a real edge over the majority of participants. Let's start with something I find especially important right now, geopolitics. What's happening in the Middle East is not just noise, it's serious, and in fact more serious than headlines or public perception might suggest. We're seeing drone attacks, missile activity, and tensions that are not easing but continuing to escalate. Most importantly, the market has not fully priced in this scenario yet. There are also signals suggesting we could be approaching a larger escalation. I'm not saying this will definitely happen, but the risk is clearly there, and markets always react sooner or later. Now, here's my view, and I want to be clear that this is a hypothesis, not absolute truth. It's simply how I'm currently interpreting the market. And whenever the Fed intervenes, we typically see the same pattern: rate cuts, liquidity injections, and monetary expansion, and that completely changes the game. Now let's move to Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin on the chart, and this is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. Despite all this uncertainty, Bitcoin is not dropping the way many would expect. That doesn't mean it's invincible, far from it, but it does show resilience and relative strength compared to other assets. It's not immune though. Short-term declines are still possible, but the medium-term context remains very strong. Technically, the structure is quite clear. Bitcoin is trading within a range, and there are key levels I've mentioned in many videos: $60,000, $60, $69,000, $74,000. Within this range, price action has been orderly, moving up, correcting, and continuing higher. There's also a very important area I discussed in the previous video between $69,000 and $72,000. I call this the magnet zone because price tends to gravitate toward it, and right now we're seeing a clear move back toward the 69,000 level. We've already touched that area before, and as I mentioned days ago, there's 69,000 level. We've already touched that area before, and as I mentioned days ago, there was a high probability that price would revisit it, something that is happening. As I always say, institutions create fake moves. They generate fear, create euphoria, and ultimately take advantage of market emotions. That's why you need to focus on where real volume and genuine interest appear, because that's where the market's truth really is. And that brings us to the end of today's analysis. If there's one key idea I want you to take away, it's this: what comes next won't be easy. This won't be the typical market where everything goes up and everyone wins. It will likely be an uncomfortable environment, full of doubt, volatility, and moments where it feels like everything is breaking down. But precisely in those moments is where the best opportunities appear. The biggest market moves are not born in calm conditions. They are born in fear. Because in the end, this isn't about being right. It's about surviving long enough to still be in the market when the real move arrives. And if that move happens, it still hasn't arrived yet. So stay calm, stay disciplined, and keep a cool head. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.